The Hebrew text in the Bible has hidden formats. By revealing these formats, I will prove the first writer's words were hidden from you. These formats look like poetry as I group them into small paragraphs. Their grouping will become known as a psalm, and together they become psalms. Let me show you our Creator's 12 commandments, listed in Exodus. Who did not obey any one of these 12 commandments, our Creator demanded they bring him a sin offering. Thus, our Creator defined the word sin as not obeying any one of these 12 commandments. Next, I want to show you how I changed one word in Exodus 26, verse 26, the word bars to arches, and the words now reveal the style of the roof for our Creator's tent for meeting with Him. Let me show you the translator's words from the preface of the 1611 King James Bible. They gave 4 reasons for themselves or others to edit the Bible's words. The red arrow at the top points to their 3rd reason to edit the text. By the light and feeling we attained unto ourselves. The next red arrow down points to them giving the title, the divine, to a clerk named Gregory. The next block of words, they point out they were happy that the first emperor of Rome established the year to the course of the sun. Behind this text means Nebuchadnezzar ordered his kingdom to follow our Creator's calendar when he stopped eating grass. Did you notice the letter S in sun is capitalized? This is to give respect to the Egyptian sun god Ra. Have you seen the Egyptian obelisk in the Vatican's front yard? The last arrow points to your reward for studying the Bible. Your reward is to have a fellowship with the saints and participation of a heavenly nature that will never fade away. There is no such thing as nature to a truthful Christian. Our Creator created everything. By their own words, they were not seeking to know our Creator or Jesus. Not everyone has the knowledge to correct every word. I have an old Bible program that has the New American Standard Bible 1977 concordance to help find a better word. Their concordance has the number of times they use that English word in a parenthesis for that Hebrew word. The translators removed his name, YHVH, to put in 2 titles, Lord and God. I replaced those titles using the letters Y and V as his name, for the Hebrew language does not have a J, O, or W. By using these 2 letters, I am closer to the truth than anyone using J, O, or W for his name. So why is there a single letter O in the Hebrew text 1,095 times? No proper English was used? The blue highlighted text is text that I am removing. The red highlighted words are little words that I'm adding. Gray italic words are words that I added. To respect and honor our Creator, all capital letters in purple are our Creator's words. This is Jesus' prophecy, for I am revealing the first writer's words to tell you the true truths about Jesus. As the text is revealed, you can taste the writer's style of wording. Their words will take your belief to trusting our Creator. You will be watching prophecy before your eyes as I edit true truths back into their psalms. Okay, this will be, like I said, or no, I haven't said that. This is Jeremiah when I've got it cleaned up and put into order. Now, what that means is when I've got the words here, not Jeremiah, it has to be one of these 2 guys. That's because this text does not belong in Jeremiah. And there's specific reasons why not. But I don't want to really get into it until, because I think I did that in the last video. Because I'm seeing my editing marks over here, not here, but there's going to be a few of these chapters. Now, what you're seeing is this chapter here, and what part of that chapter has been labeled, and then I have them grouped above and below it. I guess I didn't do this one. So they're supposed to be like that. And then you can see I went all the way over here to this here chapter here. Now, okay, now here's a note why can't be in Jeremiah. So this is probably, I didn't explain it last time. Having a rough start here. Okay. This text talks about Samaria. Now, Samaria is in Israel, the nation Israel. It has been already gone into Babel or to Assyria. So anytime that I've got words like this, I know this text is not here in Jeremiah. So that's how I'm dating it. I try to find something in the text and then say it tells me that the text is not there. Now, what I did is what you see here is a 3-group format and another 3-verse format. I took all the 3 verses and all the 4 verses, and I tried to compile them together. Then I had leftovers. The leftovers are what you're seeing here as how I'm putting these together, because it reads as if these two go together. Okay, so that's just what happens when I'm trying to actually put the book together and try to say, do I throw out more than half the text that I've got done, or just the final pieces that didn't make it? So this is an example of text that's going to go someplace else, but when you read the story, it reads together. Now, last time I had it probably just a straight line here, and this is the new text I'm adding in. And you can see another correcting the text. These aren't these are pretty easy to see. Here is one of the how it dated the text: a faraway land. Now that means if they knew Assyria was battling with Babylon, Assyrian Babylon started fighting, because that's going to come up in Isaiah. That I think we have, well, the only thing is that's how I built it up, because some text was reading even in Jeremiah that says from the north, and then as the story goes, it starts talking about Babylon, and then it talks about the Chaldeans in Babylon. So that's how I knew the stories pretty much needed to go where they needed to be placed in a timeline for Jeremiah. Now, what I should have done was got this ready, and I didn't. Now, this timeline is Jeremiah's timeline. And what I'm seeing here is that, or what you're seeing here is, this is Israel over here, and they've gone. So there's going to be some years here that they're going to be battling up there. So someplace in this area here, our Creator is going to say from a faraway land. He isn't going to tell them who's going to win up there, but he's going to tell them later after it's established. Then he's going to say from where. So the text, it does take a lot of time. I mean, it took me 4 days to clean this up. So, but pretty soon the text will be put into PDFs. I've been trying to compile them together, and Word is not letting me keep my formats when I'm putting them in together as one deal. They're separating all these verses, all of them into one single space between them. That isn't the text. That isn't the format, and I haven't figured out how to do that. So they're going to be in PDFs forms, and I'm going to put a link in the description box pretty soon as to when I'm adding the books, probably at the end when I'm done with them, as I go along. So it's not as smooth and as easy as I was doing in 2013 text or Windows. And it was even better in 2007 text. But they have really forced this on me, and I've been watching all kinds of videos and I can't figure it out. I mean, people say how to just grab your format and save it and stick it over there. I've tried it 5 different ways already, and none of them gets to keep it, so that was a waste of time. King Manasseh. Okay, when the text talking about King Manasseh, Jeremiah appears here. So how can it be about the time of Jeremiah? So, or a Manasseh. So, this I think I had, I just haven't noted that it's one of these two, because both these guys are going to be named in Isaiah, and one had prophesied about the destruction. They were questioning Jeremiah's whether his words are going to become true or not, because they aren't really sure he's a prophet, even though there's a few things that he has done that came about that's truthful, but it wasn't known as he's a prophet at that time. After destruction, everybody knew he was a prophet. But they talk about these two prophets and how this guy said it and it never happened. This guy said it and they killed him. So that's the comparing of what they did to let Jeremiah live. That, hey, look, when they killed him, it didn't. And this guy, when he said it, nothing happened either. So that's how I got this related as from this time. Now you can see that they're not connecting, so I'm saying that these two are not good enough to be stuck together to be one. So they're going to be pieces. Maybe that'll pick up later, because you can't have our Creator directly talking when they're just describing the king. See, this text here, when it says escapes into Judah, that has to be about Israel. Okay. Here is coming from the north, and it's east of the Euphrates. Okay, now there's another story in Jeremiah that talks about how Babylon beat Assyria east of the Euphrates. So that's why I had to use the word east here. Or I figured out either that because Babylon is such a locked-in land by the two great rivers, and they're not easy to, they're like walls that defended them as a nation. So you could only get in between where the rivers weren't, and it wasn't that hard to block people coming in. So it would have been it's not worth conquering people if it takes too long and you're losing a lot of men. Which is in Judah. That's the only word I could come up with that goes in here. So it would be, if it's in Judah, it's the text is again speaking to the point that it is not there. Now here, then it came, I put these guys' name in here just for knowledge for me later. Now the text for Jeremiah actually starts, and I'm using some big notes here because when I go to compile all these books together, when I figure it out, this is a good note for other kings coming in. Example, I've been looking at Isaiah. In fact, I was going to put that up in this video, but Isaiah, if you search out the name Isaiah in the text, he doesn't even appear until, I think there's like 60 some chapters, and he doesn't appear until chapter 50 or something. So 2/3 of the text doesn't have Jeremiah or Isaiah at all. So the thing there is I think I've seen that in Ezekiel too. So I was just shocked to see that the books, you would think that when they're naming them, that it named what at his time, like Jeremiah. Jeremiah is really good at doing these kings right here. these three kings here, they're getting a very good description of what's going on. Okay, but it starts in the 10th year. Now, what I'm also going to be noting here is that even though the text reads like a long story, I found out that there's several texts that they were using. Some text is coming from a 3-verse, some text is coming from a 4-verse, yet they're saying the same thing. And then I found another 3-verse that says the same thing as 3-verse, but it says it differently or it adds more text to it. And the story is shortened up a little bit, like they got rid of some, but they, example, I want to really point out that it's at towards the end that the first one just talks, they came down, they burnt things, and they took things from his utensils from his house, our Creator's house, and then they burned it down. The other text is very descriptive what they took. And I needed to say both of them, so I threw out some at the end, and then I left it, so it's kind of like a doubling of the text. But that's the best I could do with this. Now, I did change where he lives or what land he was at from Judah's or from the land of Benjamin. Now, why did I do this? Now, this is important because after Babylon is done, it talks about a guy going to be assigned as the overseer of the land by those that were there, said, we're going to leave you here, we're going to leave you some Chaldeans to guard you, like you represent us down here, but they can communicate with you, and then you collect all the taxes from people and then send it up. Now, what happens is that the story was going to continue and say they had a problem after he died, this overseer, that the people went to someplace to approach Jeremiah to ask them, should we stay in the land or should we run because these guys come over and kill them, and we know they're right on the other side of the river. They come over and kill us at any time. And they meet up in Benjamin, not Benjamin, but in Bethlehem. So that's in Judah. So if Jeremiah is buying the land from his uncle and having a deed, and then later it has no story where Nebuchadnezzar's guard released Jeremiah, and Jeremiah just got to go wherever he wanted to go. But the only story that we've got is the people went to talk to him because they knew he was a prophet. So that's why I've changed it to Judah, because they're going to meet Jeremiah in Benjamin. Not in Benjamin, Bethlehem. I'm reading one saying another, or wanting to say another. Now, when it come down to this, you can see I changed a 3-verse to a 4-verse because it does kind of, I needed a start. See, there's no connection here. Let's see. I think I'm going to need an aid to help point me here, because I don't know how well it's showing up over there for you guys. But here there's a break. And then this new story is going to start. And as you can see, I had to get rid of this, which I was going to add, and it kind of fills in like, okay, that's a pretty good lead into this story, okay? So because this starts what year he's in, but it was in a 4-verse. But the 3-verse text is that when he's appearing to him, you can see, I am a youth, and don't say you're a youth. This means this was like his first vision that our Creator gave him. So the thing here is it was in what year? Well, it says the 10th and 13th year for Josiah. Well, I had to use a 3-verse to put here. It could be more accurate if I put a 4-verse, but I wanted to keep 3 verses together. So I got rid of what I was going to add, or what I tried to add to make it read right at that time, but when I put the book together, it just wasn't working. So this seemed to be the first story there to be noted what was going on. So as you can see, now there's going to be some time or space between it, and there's not a lot of text a lot of time. And this one doesn't start out with what he's doing either. So there's text that's going to be missing, because when I put these pieces together, I was getting a few of these pieces left over that I couldn't put into a story as a long one. The text was either being said already, or it had too much familiar words. So I I knew it wouldn't be a double speaking of the story within that time. So what I have to do is I have to place them someplace, and that's what I did. I tried to say that see how these go together? Like there should be a very beginning, like tells me what went on, okay? But because of the way the text was reading to me, it told me it was a very earlier text or prophecy. So, and then I have another break, and then now you can see how it says, then YV commanded me. So now I changed this word from east to west, because on the west side is the main highway, and most travelers that are going to come in are going to come in through the western side of Jerusalem. So that's why I thought I should better put it more true to the fact to have the most people hearing his words, what he's saying. And these words that I'm adding here are to blend in, so they kind of blend together, and now they read. And when you read the text, you'll find that these do sound pretty good as a prophecy after a prophecy. And there's not really much text talking about it in between. But the story, because what's in these prophecies does give you an idea what's going on at that time. So you can see I'm just editing this to clean this up, because it's got to match what's going on up here. It was just a small little piece, but I figured better save it. It sounds good here. So that's, even though it was only this much that I throw it out, I decided that it reads so well that I left it there. Okay. And then another story. The story is about a potter and how he easily remade it. Down here, I left the word destroy, but it's that he can remake it. And that's the idea, is that he's going to send them away, and then he's going to remake Israel. So not as a nation, but as a group of people, as a nation, as a group of people, not a nation. And then you can see another prophecy is going to happen. And when I'm doing these, it really reads pretty good. Like I gotta say, this is I've been doing this for years, but I've always done, let's put it this way, it took me 5 years to do our Creator's Hidden format. It was a struggle trying to find out where the pieces go. Here it was pretty much easier. Example, see here, they're going to go to the north. So this has to be early text. Okay, here again. Now they gather yours from Babylon. So now this is one of the first times the word Babylon is being said in the text with the word north. So this had to be one of the first times that he had to be saying these things. Okay. I changed all the words prophesying to foretelling, because it was kind of like their seers are prophesying. They're foretelling, okay? They're lying. I couldn't use, predicted. I thought that would be a good word because it was being used a couple times. Yeah, right down here. They were predicting or predicted, and I kept predicting or something. but I'm separating the words to always mean the same thing. Prophecies come from our Creator, and a prophet prophesies what he says, or says what he says as a prophecy. So these have to be separate as foretelling. Here I had a 4-verse again, and I made it into a 3-verse. This was a 4-verse. I dropped it into a 3-verse, and you can see I'm not really changing anything, except for I didn't need to start another story. So I see your post just popped up here. Praise the Lord. Christ brings a sword. I'm hoping soon the second coming get all this crap off the earth, but what I'm doing here is showing the formats that I've found. These are the 3-verse and formats that I found in this text, and they're pretty sophisticated. But they read as small paragraphs, and then 2 of them become a larger paragraph. Then you see how I've got a spacing between a little larger. What I did was I just did like 40 videos on Jeremiah and went through every little detailed change of what I'd done to explain why I'm changing or why I'm removing words. And this is I compiled it and took the 3 verses that I made together and 4 verses, put them together, and found this to be the truest order I could come up with as to say what happened in Jeremiah's time. Because Jeremiah's time, let me go here. This is the timeline for Jeremiah. Jeremiah, let's see, Jeremiah starts in about the 13th year for Josiah, and then he's left on the land after. So you can see that if he's sending them out when he's 15, 16, and then you got some years here, and then there's another 20, and he's going to be left here. That roughly puts him at the age of 60 to 65, somewhere in here, years old. So that's Jeremiah's timeline. Right now, I'm talking about probably maybe a few years now before Jehoiakim here, or however pronounce his name. But these are the edits that I had to put in. Now this story here, I had pieces that said, okay, that this really didn't start anywhere. As you can see that I had this 4-verse to begin with. Didn't know whether to put it in 3-verse or 4-verse, but I changed to put in 4-verse or 3-verse to go with this story. And then what I had already connected these parts with this part, okay? And what I did later, I realized that it was that the prophecies that are being described here, I actually had put that they needed to be put into the prophet, either Micah or Uriah here, and that was before Jeremiah. But the thing here is you can't have a prophet living 90 years. So what I decided is that this text, he's repeating what has been said. Okay, so I had to say he knew the prophecies from Uriah, and that becomes clear when you start reading the text as you read the whole thing. And I will have that format, or I'll have this book put up when I can open up my web page and start figuring out how to add it together. Today I just ran into the problem Well, actually, these are revealing the first writer's formats that have been covered up. And they're easy to find in Psalms. If you do Psalms 1 through 9, all you got to do is find the shortest verses and then find them how they group together. And you'll find these 3-verse formats, but you'll have to be throwing out probably a third of the text. But the thing here is it proves that the first writers were writing and then somebody come along and distorted it for their God. What I show people in the beginning, because a lot of people don't know that when I say that the text has actually been written for their God, and that's why the text is confusing. So let me see, do I have it in this group? Main buttons. Okay. When I show you this picture here, this is actually, well, I guess I could use it. Notice right here, they're actually, this is 1611 translators' words that are wrote in the preface of 1611. And what they did was they declared that a great clerk, Gregory, is the divine, okay? And how they interpreted the text from the original Greek and Hebrew, they tell you 4 reasons how to do it. And I thought this one was kind of funny, by the light and feeling we have attained unto ourselves, okay? Your editors of the Bible in 1611 that made it, they were glad the first Roman emperor corrected the calendar and ordered the year in the course of the sun and put a capital S on the word sun. Now that is designating sun, the sun god, and we're still on the Julian calendar, which is Ra, the sun god's calendar, or very, very close to it. But that means behind the scenes here, if they corrected the calendar, they thought they were correcting the calendar, whose calendar were they going by? Well, that means when Nebuchadnezzar got done eating grass, he declared our Creator's calendar for all of Babylon. And it lasted until this guy here. And then here's what's really funny about this wording. They say, lastly, the end reward for the studying thereof is the text that you're going to read in the Bible, is to have a fellowship with the saints and a participation of a heavenly nature. There's no such thing as a heavenly nature. Our Creator created everything. So this is what I try to show people as starting out as corrupting the text. And then I try to make sure that everybody sees this, that there's 12 commandments in Exodus 21 through 17, and here they are. Now, what's so unique about these commandments is our Creator defines that they are supposed to bring a sin offering if they do not obey any one of these 12. So there are only 12 sins, and didn't have sin until in Exodus when they were in the Sinai. And this is the agreement that he makes with Israel and makes with everybody else on this earth as the agreement why we can enter into heaven. These are what we're going to be forgiven for. Okay? And then I like pointing out something here really interesting that I've counted every board. I've been doing this for 30 years. And in Exodus 26, verse 26, when you change this word right here to arches, this is what the roof of his tent looks like, not something that flat, because what's actually hanging over both sides is filled up right here. And it doesn't hang over the side. Because if you notice, if the roof is laid flat, the water's going to come down, sink into it, and distort it and tear it, rip it. But on a hip roof, It's not going to do that. Now, these boards here across were missing in the text, but that's what these boards are. 5 bars for the boards of the side of the tabernacle, which is never a tabernacle. It's always been a tent. It's a tent for meeting. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because what they did in this text up here, they have walls going around, but they have nothing to connect the walls going across. So what that means when I'm finding these first writers' formats, it's proving that this text is the text that they started with. And that's what's so great about this. This is prophecy, as I say. Our Creator made me see him 8 times and let me know that Jesus exists and he is our King in heaven. And this is Jesus's prophecy when he talks about the helper to come, who is going to correct and tell the truth about about Jesus. So by finding the hidden formats, I'm telling you the truth of what happened during Jeremiah's time. Okay, the gates to his house, it couldn't be his house. When I read the story over a couple times, I got the word now being Jerusalem. Small little edit there. Again, I had it through Jeremiah, and you can see now I got it through Uriah. Because this group of texts that he's going to be talking is all about from Uriah. When I put them together and sewed them together, these were really smooth grouping, like there's not a hiccup. As you can see, red text at the end, red text still followed. Okay. And then there was this other vision that he has. So that had to be put someplace. That ended up going here. I don't see anything difficult here of what my editing's been done. I know that when I was doing the video, when I started doing this the first time, I put in springs because I thought it was meaning that the springs had also dried up, because at that time there was a lot of springs. But what I did, I put the original word back in, vegetation, meaning that, yeah, it had dried up. It was a drought pretty much. And that stuck with the story that there had been no rain. So I corrected myself and put that back in. And you can see, again, when I'm putting them like this, that means the story is continuing. And I will be putting all these in PDF forms and listing them, and I'm going to put a page on my web page that'll just have all the PDFs that you can go to and get what you want. Because I've been doing this in reverse. I found it's the easiest way to say that what I would find is most truthful. Because if I went the other way, they're adding so much into the text that sometimes these guys didn't know how to write in this format. And it does give misdirection of what happened later. So it's easier for me to go backwards in the text. Right now, I've done Daniel. That's really good and clean. Habakkuk, Obadiah. There's about 5 small prophet books that I've done, and I've done Psalms as well. So this is more or less me speaking to the future and understanding what I did to the text. Here, literally, I had one line and then I had 2 blanks because it was up here and it was, and I gotta do this. Yeah, it should have been italic and gray. I got carried away, put it in. And I already think I made the PDF for this. Oh, well, an error in the future, but I did catch it after. They would say it's the temple now and not a house. Our Creator defined his tent was for meeting with him, and his house was for meeting with him to be forgiven sin, or the agreement that he made with the people at his nation. But when the bad guys are talking, they're saying it differently. They've already started tricking the people that people don't understand. Just like the people today think Lord and God, or the word God is his name. Both those words are titles, just like the word creator is a title. And I had to rearrange this. This was like a lot of editing later, because I had to read this 2-3 times, and as I did it, I kept adding more text and had to take some out, add some in. But in the long run, okay, now we're at this guy's timeline, the next king. And yes, I'm on page 10 of 37, but I think there's a lot of text that's I'm going to show you that I got rid of. Small little adjustments, smoothing things out so they read together. Then it breaks. Then you have another prophecy. These, like I said, you can see that some of these doesn't have the start like a prophecy or words to go with them to tell me where to place it, except for we have Jeroboam here. So, and this was prophesied by him that he's going to be buried like a donkey's burial, which means that he's going to die and they're just going to drag him out and throw him in the field. But we don't have no story about that, okay? If that actually happened. We don't have... They did get rid of a lot of text that doesn't have it. When you see that this text was written in a 4-verse and 3-verse, and then, like I said, there's been multiple 3-verse stories that I had to later choose one or the other. Stories that were the similar in the 2 formats, I would get rid of one of them, because I've decided the main one is 3-verse going all the way through, because there's only like about 4 pages of 4-verse. And as you see, the first couple pages were that, and then what Uriah is, when he's repeating what was written or said by Uriah, then that is the 4-verse in this. Otherwise, Jeremiah is going to be a 4-verse format or 3-verse format, pretty much. Or yes, that's what I'm pointing out, all the way through. Then when I'm putting these stories together, I had found that I needed something here, but this was probably one of the last pieces that I was trying to put together to words as it go, and then I realized that if I got rid of this, this kind of, the red text went with the red text being said about our Creator, or about Jesus. The purple highlighted is our Creator's words. And then, just like this, a 3-verse out of the middle of, there is text. I thought this was going to split up, and it didn't. So this actually because this text, as you can see, is not still talking about our king. But then when you read the story, it does read like, okay, that does go together, because it's going to talk about Leah and not Rachel as weeping when they slaughtered the 2-year-old boys around Bethlehem. A lot of things have changed under this format. Oh, Okay, now this text is actually telling us like what happened after he was talking to them. Okay, and then see, he kind of, this is a perfect example of how the text was originally wrote. He would have given his prophecy, and then he would have been given his argument with the people that they recorded, the prophet recorded. Okay, and then we start having a story being said, and you're going to see a lot pretty soon here, text that's more descriptive of what happened at the time, because we get words from the prophet himself, or somebody like the guy that he told to go get, our Creator told him to get us, he was put into, I think it's the priest's storehouse. And he's actually there, but the window's open. He can talk to travelers by. He's not really being punished. He's just being locked where they can keep an eye on him. And this place is a house where it's got many of the priests live, and they're going to have a courtyard. This is very close to our Creator's house, because right across the street on the east side, or on the west side of Jerusalem, or his house's location, is where the king lives. Okay, and so the priests that are there have to be somewhere close there as well. They had that place to live with for them. Here I had to change the king's names around to get this to actually fit right, to be in order correctly. Because this text here about make a yoke for yourself, a wooden yoke goes around his neck, and then he's going to go prophesy these words. And then when I got to this section, I said, these words can't be here. We already know that it's the other king. And when you understand that Jeremiah is going to be in the storehouse, and he's going to have this guy named Baruch, he is going to become the guy that Jeremiah says, our Creator is just giving me a prophecy. I want you to write it down and then go and herald it at his gate. And that would be at the gate to his courtyard. When you understand that, and you understand the stories below, that he's in that storeroom until this Zedek king guy, he's going to take him in, because he hears about the prophecies. That's the only thing I can think of, because I had to add those words, that he heard about him doing all these. He's starting to hear about Babylon starting to come his way. So it's kind of like, okay, let me bring that guy and talk to him. And then he's going to stick him into his courtyard's guardhouse, where he has his own guards living on the place with the king. So knowing that, I can't use this. Now, I've got 4 verse again, and I've left it noted right now, but you can see that this is one of the rare times that 4 verse is going to happen here in the 3 verse. But the story is talking about this yoke. So they had to go together. And that's kind of like, it would be something like, because I can never figure out why the 4 verses is written like this. It might be because the 3 verses is what he heralded, and then the 4 verses was what he wanted to put in as his story, that he heralded this and then this happened. So I had to change the king around here, and I had to figure out the years. Now the years are going to get a little bit, you're going to see them changing, because after I put the story together and I read it again, this part of the text going down is really, really accurate. Example, I had left this blank and had to put it, started telling you what year he was, because here, Okay, yeah, this is because this was in the 6th year of this king. Just because it made more sense, because he's going to get stuck in the house here, in the storehouse for the priest. Now you have Nebuchadnezzar. This also means that now Nebuchadnezzar is a king, and now the prophecy, like I said, I had to order the date by our creator saying it was someone from the far north is coming. Then it would be Babylon is coming. And now for the first time we have Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? So that's why this is noted, why this is dated, and why it's put later. Because Nebuchadnezzar, when you start figuring out his life expectancy, it's pretty important that it's put in the 6th year. Now, these guys were made kings when their dad died, but we know that here in the text, this 40 years, I corrected it from 70 years is when they're going to be sent back to Jerusalem to rebuild the house. It's Daniel that we learn that it's 40 years that Daniel is the only one that can be explaining the stories that are in what is it? Zechariah? No. Zechariah, I think. Zechariah. I can't think of these guys' names after I've done them for so long. Let me see here. Zechariah. The stories in Zechariah about when you find there's Aramaic words in there, they aren't Aramaic. Those were writings by Daniel, and Daniel was writing or that person was writing to talk to the king, the new king that was from Persia, what was going on, why we're down here. And he wrote in their own language, which would have been not Persian, but they have a different name for it, so you'll have to look it up. But I put that into the text. But that's how I determined that it was Daniel. Had to be, and then I had to figure out Daniel's timeline of his life to then come up with that it was 40 years. So he was probably 16. So this makes him 56 when he gets back to the land. And then we don't have much story about him later because he just drops off, and we have other prophets all of a sudden appearing. Because Daniel is a prophet, but all of a sudden they don't tell that he dies. But the timeline fits when I put 40 years here. And this is the text that Daniel might have been reading, or one of them from him, but this is the correction of the dates. And I trying to shorten up this guy's name. I forgot to do that during this time. Okay, now after he gets done heralding, he stood by the gate and he heralded the people. This is where this priest, he was son of this guy here, who is the highest priest. Or no, he is the highest priest. Okay? And what happens here is he gets mad at him. He's going to put him in the stock. They had like a stockade to lock people up for a day to humiliate them, because people have got to go to the bathroom. And then they release them the next day. And then down here, no, this is his conversation when he was released with him. So all of a sudden we start really having personal text about Jeremiah and why he's talking to him. And then they pretty much let him be free. And then now Jeremiah is leaving Jerusalem to go to the land. Oh, let's see what I did here. Now that means I've got to check the text. And so I got to check the other. When I see I've done something that bad and I didn't see it, I've got to keep track of that, these little errors, and go edit forward. But he's leaving now here, and the captain of the guards, he stops Jeremiah, and then this guy's got to take him someplace. So I thought at first it was his commander's house. But when I start putting all the text together, this order has to be here, because once he locked him up, then he released him. Now he's going to get arrested. And now where are they locking him up to where King Zedek is going to ask him to come talk to me? And then he says, okay, I'm not going to stick you there because when he left or something, I can't get all the stories right now. I still got a cold. Man, the cold really screws my head up. Almost over with it, though. But at some time, I decided that it was the priest's place, and I had to decide it was a storehouse. So I had one time it was their guardhouse that he put him into, the priest's guardhouse. Because the word chains come from another story. So I had to put chains in here, and it was like a prison, because Jeremiah is going to start getting called now, like right here in this story. Our Creator's going to tell him, your uncle's coming to talk to you. So it can't be a real regular prison. It has to be a house. It can't really be under guards because he's able to talk to people. So it only made sense that it was a storehouse. Later, you'll find out why I'm changing it from the captain of the guards to a storehouse. Because, anyways, it has to be the priest, because I'll show you why here pretty soon. Now here, this is that story I was talking about when I started the text. And here he's buying this land from his uncle, and it says Benjamin's land here. But again, I've got a note here that if you use this later in a search, it'll take you down there. I'm hoping to make these like bookmarks that you can click on one, and then when you get there, you click on that, and it'll bring you back up to here. So, but it had to be by Bethlehem. So it defines where Jeremiah really was born and lived. See, and he's going to talk to this guy right here to go purchase give him the purchase. So this guy's going to be all of a sudden introduced to us. And then this was straightening out the years that were there, and I had to add the correct 5 count. 5 count is 5 7-day weeks. So they only had 10 months, and that's very important because summer solstice is first month. So, and they only had 10. So like the 5th month would be winter, and that's going to be really important when it starts coming up here. Then I had him, he couldn't call him. He had to send for him because he's being locked up. Then he's going to have Branch dictate his words. And then I went out and I started heralding at YHVH'S house. So this text right here that's coming up is pretty much what this guy here, Baruch, he's the one that's writing this text, or where they got this text from, this guy. Okay. So, because Jeremiah wouldn't have known what's going on here, because having to clean this up, get rid of this last ending, which means that this, and then this is going to be as the story, which was very clean, I think. It was so smooth as these let's see, this is 6 part 2, 20 or 36 part 2. Okay, this was 36 part 1. Okay. Because I separated them because of the date and time. Because it was like, if you read the dates and times, like he did it so many days later, and I had to change it from weeks of the month to days that he wrote it, and then he come and read it. And this is what he heralded to the people. And then we're going to have a story following this. This correction is pretty easy. This one, this was too easy. I should have realized that one. I've decided that they're going to be pouring out oils and not wines. Oils, I think, make more sense if you understand the guys that are editing the text. Again, meditate to have sex with a so-called female goddess. And actually, some of the text you're going to see at the end, Jeremiah is going to be arguing about that stuff with them. That you do these things, there's many things that they do, and to understand their practice, which I do inside and out, oil is more correct than wine. So all the text, whatever I'm going to do when it talks about the harlot that they're having sex with in their forehead, and that's actually written in this text. So, and I didn't have to change that wording around either. Orphans, oh, they put that in the wrong place. Uh-oh. I double clicked that. I gotta do that. I gotta make sure that I don't. Like I said, 4 days of playing with that text, it went all over the place. And you can edit. I found the one that I missed here, and that was yesterday, I think. So I got to make sure both of them are edited the same now, but that's why I do these videos. Okay. Yeah, I just repeated it right here. I double clicked it right here. Okay. Doing a quick eyeball here. That doesn't look like the same up here. It is though. Okay. So let me get rid of that right now. Boy, I'm glad I didn't post this as a PDF. Get rid of all that. Okay. The stories go together. Okay. I had it as whores. I realized that it's more or less talking about being adulterers. But you notice it is a 4-verse piece. This is a 4-verse piece. This is a 4-verse piece. So this is that grouping of 4 verses that I found. But they were all from Micah or Uriah's timeline, so every time you read the word harlotry, is going to be the image that they see in their forehead, and then this, what I call a sex with the so-called female goddess. This is what that is going to be, is abomination. Meaning it's completely against our Creator. Okay, I had to add this text back in to make it a 4 verse because I had a spot for it. When I put it there, I realized that it's not a 3 verse. And I went to look back at the text earlier that I'd done. It was a 4 verse, so I put the words back in, and now the 4 verse fits real good. It's, yeah, this is him reminiscent again. I gotta check that out. This is now I'm confused. I must have double clicked too many times here. That's bad. I thought I was done with this. Should have made it. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to put chapters in that thing. That'll help me look to make sure what's going on. Okay, yeah, because this all shouldn't have been here. I said this was reminiscent from this guy's time. Okay. But pretty much the editing, you're gonna see a little bit different when it's done. I didn't know I had that many errors in the text. I said it took me 4 days, and I'd thrown this text around quite a bit to get here. Okay, when you read this story, and you'll see the old edit, I think I had 3 verses down here and left this group with this group. But when I realized that when the story is missing something, and it was this guy that went, and where did he go to get to this house where the scribes are at? And I had to look on the map to see that it had to be within like running distance, so, or not too far away for this guy to be 10 miles. To make it less than 10 miles, I said a village near Jericho. So that's how I decided what was going on. And I figured that these guys wouldn't have known about him. These guys seem to be the good scribes, the ones that are in control of the text, that were still truthful, and yet these other guys are rewriting the text. So that's what's curious about this group of guys here, because these guys are still thinking that the king is a good guy, and he's not. So the thing here is they're kind of out of the loop, but if they're trying to keep their records straight, not being done, being re-edited, that's where a lot of this text actually might have come from, is this group here. Okay? When you start figuring out timelines and who's who and where they come from, I try to put this all in my head as I'm editing the text. Everything's got to be looked at that way. Everything's got to have a logical fit to the story. So that's why definitely this is needed in this. And I got rid of the verses down here. But this is the story that they went to the king, and then he was at winter time. So when I remember I was telling you about the dating in time, it's all because all of a sudden I had this word here, because the fireplace that was burning, he's going to throw Yeah, he throws it into the fireplace and it consumes the scroll that he wrote. And that's the stuff that Baruch wrote. Oh, that's why that's here. That's why I can't take that out. I can't take that out. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. That's why it's doubled. Oh, I just remembered why it was doubled. It's doubled because this is what he's reading. It was said at one time, and then he's going to read this text again as what was being said by Jeremiah as a summary. That's right. This stuff became a summary of what he wrote. That's what was different about a 4-verse in this group. I've forgotten that. Boy, better save that. What happens is that when I was putting in, I said there's similar like stories. When I realized that the text itself was telling me that it was, where did this, what was so important about this text that this guy was going to talk about? Because in the places, I mean, it's talking here. Where is it? When I had the story that I threw it into fire, where is that? Yep, coming up yet. Yeah, when he's throwing it in the fire, there was only like 2 or 3 prophecies ahead of it, but they weren't all that damning of a prophecy against the king. But when you read that text that's in a 4-verse that he would have grabbed and wrote, and this was like when Baruch was told by Jeremiah to rewrite my words, and I'm thinking that's what he said, like a summary. Our Creator's kind of like all my words. Then I realized that it was a summary of what he had said. And that's what he went and read. All the whole story. That's why Uriah's in here later, is because of that. Is because the text by Uriah was said by Jeremiah way at the beginning. And that's, like I said, when our Creator tells him to write all of what I've told you to tell him. That is the summary of it. That's why there's, when you read that text in the 4-verse, you'll find that it's a summary. That's why it's got to stay there. Okay. Now this chapter explains the text above the last chapter. Okay, here's the information I got that I just tried to redo in my head here for you. The words came from Jeremiah's, burn this scroll, buy again another scroll, and have it rewritten all over. I had to add the word rewritten last time. So this is what happens. Then the scroll that had it wrote as a summary, the guy burned it, and now he's going to say, go back and rewrite that again. Okay? So that's what happened there. But yeah, that's the summary he told them to rewrite. Now rewrite it again. All my prophesied words. Okay, boy, almost confusing myself when I'm doing this. Oh, there's a lot in my little head. Okay. Then, second time he was confined by the priests in the storehouse. This is the second time his words came to him while he's confined in the storehouse. Now, after this story here, because it's going to go through a little bit, that's just easy editing there, nothing real big, nothing real big. Now, this king, okay, and this, like I said, there's no death of this king before him. So, I had to change this guy's name because he's the one that's going to be sent back and forth later. So I had to decide which name I was going to use. And this is where I had the word guardhouse in this story. And when I finally put them together, and here's the word chained, by the way. So that's why I had to put him in chains. But where was he chained? When was he chained? That became a big thing. Now, I moved it to storehouse. So now we're at the priest's storehouse. Around the courtyard, they had a storehouse where he could talk to people as they were going by the road. And some of the good people probably would have listened to him and said, okay, we'll send them. Probably fed them too. And now this is where I had to add, Zedek was told what Jeremiah wanted. The story does not actually introduce why he asked for him. When the story comes out, there's nothing here to say why he asked him. So he had to heard what was told by Jeremiah, because Baruch is out there saying these words. He's got priests complaining about it to him. And so he went and sent this guy. See, they had it spelled with an A this time. Next time they got it spelled with a E. So, and then Jeremiah comes and talks to him, and he tells him what I prophesied, because the king was wondering about what about him. And he's going to tell him, he'll give him over to you. He's still going to kill many of your people, but he's not going to kill you. If you just turn yourself over, and those that turn over with you, they won't kill. But then he turns around and tells them that otherwise, if you don't, he's going to kill you, or he's going to kill all yours, but leave you alone. And that's exactly what the text is going to show later. Now, had to remove these words because of the doubling of the text of the two different stories that are going to be here. See, this is in a 3-verse, this is in a 3-verse, but if I got this left in, it just doesn't make any sense. So now this is where the priest, heard I was heralding to everyone from Jeremiah. So the priest had actually heard Baruch be heralding, and now they were sick and tired of it, and this is what he was heralding. This is what they're telling going to be. So they went and told the king this is what he was heralding. So it's not a direct statement, but a summary of. And then he's talking about they probably dragged Jeremiah before him, because they don't tell you who until we find out that Zedek commanded you could not kill him. I'm your king, you cannot kill him. So this is when they throw him into the well. And I'm thinking they throw him into the well of their house's courtyard. I had it as our Creator's courtyard well. And then I decided that it's better his house, that it was there. Because when the story comes that this guy is going to go tell the king what they had done to him, that the story has to continue. That, where was it? He said, under your authority. I pointed this out last time. This is why I thought they were doing it in our Creator's courtyard, that they put him in the well there. But when I realized their house is right around the corner, or right next to the king's house, most likely, that he would have said, okay, with your authority, you can go into their little courtyard and you can remove him. If they give you a hard time, they know who you are. You're my personal guard. This guy's his personal guard. So that's under your authority, bring him up. So the words only say under your authority, but it has a lot of meaning to as what is influenced about the story. A lot of people are going to read the text, and it won't be until probably about the 10th time that you read it that you start putting these little verses together as meaning more in the story. But that's between you and our Creator, how much he teaches you what he wants you to know. Everybody's going to learn at a different time and things like that. And that was my, okay. Quickly editing. And this is going to be coming up to the end here, that they're going to fight and kill him. This is where he's going to, okay, now this is where that after he gets done telling the king that he's going to die or not die, one of the two, depends on your choice. He didn't want, the king tells him what to tell these people about why he's now locked in his guards' houses and not return, after they took him out of the well, where he's at now. And so Jeremiah, when you start understanding how the pieces are put together, pretty much spends about 13 years, 14 years under guard, locked up. Okay? And that's important to know. And you'll learn that. I learned that. But he's still getting words out to be prophesied. So, let no man know about this. So, yeah, okay, when my advisors talk to you, you tell them you didn't want to be returned to the priest storeroom. I got you now under my guardhouse here, my guardhouse, until Jerusalem was captured. Now this text is like a repeat above. So in this text was a repeat above. So I threw all that out. Then when it comes to the end, this is like I was saying, this is like it's coming from a completely different book. It's not Isaiah or not Jeremiah. Where is it? Maybe that's the second story I've got of this that's a little bit different. And to understand the dating, you really have to go down and look at all the dates that I've corrected to understand that now this is the 9th year of the king, and he was locked up. So he's locked up for the 10 years that he's under this king. And then on this day they laid siege, and then on this day that he was breached. Then this guy is being, see, he's still under the courtyard and he wasn't released. Now we're going to come back and we're going to get a little bit more of what's being up here. Because up here he's being told that he's talking to him and he's being released. But here, I believe, is another story. So it might kind of overlap a little bit here. And he's released them. And here's when this guy that I was telling you about is given the assignment that he is the overseer. Now this is going to be a captain or a commander that hid himself with his men and weren't taken. And then this guy here is going to go to a city mitzvah. And I should put maps in here, I guess, to help people understand this text. But then this guy is the guy that's going to be the Arab that comes over and kills him. In the story I had to jumble in and put in here, this should have been in green. That I added this text. Because somehow he heard, and then he left, and then he returned to tell him that I got a secret here, that I'll go kill him. I thought this text should have been left in here, instead of just throwing this out and saying, I'll just keep this and just say, okay, left. But this was about being scattered and left, and it was very important later in this story coming up, that while they were eating, he killed him and his men that were there. Then the story is the next group comes to see him, and then he kills them, and then he takes some captives to head back to Arabia, across the Jordan, to head over that way. And that guy here, Joanna, he goes and rescues them with his men. And then they went and stayed by Bethlehem in order to travel to Egypt. Now, this is the reason why I changed all the text above to say that Jeremiah is from Bethlehem, because it doesn't tell above here. He just went back and he started living on the land. But when these people are here, they approached Jeremiah to ask him to petition him for him. Well, if they're there, I have to say, if this text is real, because the story is so good, that now Jeremiah has to be buying land, living here, and he wasn't from Benjamin's land, okay? So, understand that. Then this story, when you read this is the argument of what I had up here that I said that I had to keep right here. I had to keep because it's talking about this, that they're going to scatter. They're going to scatter if there is no overseer. So down here are the same like words that they're talking to them, but it's in a completely different format. Now, I don't know. This is what drives me the craziest, because this is going to happen all the other books. I've done this a few times. This is my last time going over these, and I'm really getting good at it. But at some time, I got to say, this is my best work, and this is going to be my final. This is the text, and it'll be secondary to our Creator's Hidden format. I'm hoping. Some of this text is so much more detailed than our Creator's Hidden format. But it was our Creator's format that gave me the King's timeline so I can actually do this text. So that's whatever. Well, however he's teaching me, I'm getting there to the end. Now, this was like a second ending of how it happened, and this is, like I said, text was written in 4 verse, and it's like the Book of Kings, and this is the Book of Zedekiah. So the thing here is I've changed the names, shortened them all up. But the object is that here is like another summary, but it has nothing to do with Jeremiah until we have, after this, there's going to be words from Jeremiah, what he wrote to the people in Egypt and what he wrote to them in Babylon and sent up to them. Yeah, there was a lot of text here that I put in last time because this story is now telling all the description of what they took. Before, it wasn't as listed out. Everything here that was in gold actually got listed in this format. I was shocked. Everything that was silver got listed in the silver section. And everything that was bronze got listed in the bronze section. Okay, so now this is, like I said, a second story, but it's that he did take this priest, the high king. This is very important that he took this guy, because Jeremiah's conversation with him way back up there when I introduced you to him was that you're going to go with them. So that's why he was the last high priest of Jerusalem and not this other guy. Or I could have took this guy's name and put that up forward, but this is the only time this guy's name is actually mentioned in the text, and I did shorten it down. Now, like I said, this is like a piece from the book of Kings from Zedek. So now this is like after all that's been listed, that everything's been taken away, what's going on. Now it's going to be talking about the places, and when it didn't have a word for Egypt, but we know Cairo. When I put the word Cairo in, we now know that this text is talking about Egypt. Then he's talking about sending a letter he sent to the exiles, okay, which would be with Nebuchadnezzar. Then when he walked the land, this is what some of this text is saying, and then there's just broke up verses that I couldn't put together, but I thought all these words here are very important, and all these pieces here are very important, but they're a 4-verse format. So what book did they come from? It got me. But it does have personal referencing of what the experience, what Jeremiah experienced. And that is really gives us insight to the time and a lot of extra things that went on. Some of it's he's reminiscing about when he prophesied, and this is what happened, this is what I prophesied. So I don't think any of this text that I'm seeing is really needs to go over, because these pieces did go together as a story. So, but then they didn't. So these are more or less pieced together, and I tried to put them in an order that this is probably what had happened or when he wrote them. But you can tell by the pieces here that, okay, we've got a great idea of what was going on in the text, written by several different scribes, several different ways of writing these things. So the prophecies that are there are in exactly the same wording, and then the stories at the end aren't, they're just giving us insight to what happened, but it gives us a good idea of what the text really would have looked like if they wouldn't have destroyed all the text. And these, you can see, I just got pieces, and I couldn't put them anywhere. But I made sure that they were all here to see. And then these here, again, these were the 3-verse, but I had to get rid of them. I just couldn't put them anywhere. And I left this one blank because of this comment right here. Whoops, not that comment. No, because it's talking about Jesus. So I kind of said of any of the words that are important out of this group, it would be these. Other than this, these are already been kind of said differently in different ways. Like I said, when you start reading these pieces, you're going to see that, boy, that could have got 4 or 5 different books from Jeremiah at that time. Which one was right? Which was wrong? They really destroyed history. They didn't care. They didn't believe our Creator existed. And these here, all here, they didn't need to be put in either. These are some more 3 verses these were the ones that were completely out. The other ones I listed as should be saving. But that's the longest story you ever heard me babble. But I just wanted to give you an idea when you do see it completely put together. And maybe you guys can have fun with trying to put them together the best you can too. But I think that I did a real good job here. I was happy when I was done with it. So in this order. So other than that, I'm going to start Isaiah next. Like I say, I'm working these back to front. So the truest stories are when they're cleaned up. I'll be able to edit the future that's being said in the years before. So, if that makes sense. You have a great day, and stop by and learn more. Have a good night.